This job is the most dangerous in the world, working only 15 days a year for a salary of $100,000. It's the Alaskan crab fisherman. King crabs are in constant high demand worldwide, offering a rare delicacy from the sea, which is also fraught with unknown dangers. For instance, temperatures can suddenly drop to -20 degrees Celsius, forcing crew members to work on icy decks amidst violent waves. A momentary lapse can lead to falling overboard, and mere minutes in the water can be fatal. Despite the risks, the lure of high earnings always attracts brave souls. Before the crabbing season, captains easily find suitable crew members. In 48 hours, the annual crabbing season begins, drawing boats from all directions, including Captains Phil of the Cornelia Marie, Sig of the Northwestern, Jonathan of the Time Bandit, Keith of the Wizard, and Bill of the Kodiak. In Dutch Harbor in October, things seem calm, but not on the Cornelia Marie. Josh is upset with his brother Jake for being bossy at work. Thinking they'd better not work on the same boat, Josh reaches out to other captains to change ships, but Captain Jonathan hesitates to respond. The Bering Sea claims several lives each season, and he prefers his sons work together for mutual support. Tensions are also high on the Northwestern, where Anderson, a stubborn crew member, wants Captain Sig to teach him how to steer, although he can't even throw a hook properly. Sig, believing Anderson is trying to run before he can walk, refuses. Under Captain Keith's command, the Wizard's crew methodically prepares to set sail. This season, Keith hires Joel Xiley, a newcomer with a lengthy criminal record who values this job opportunity and is determined to prove himself. The captains gather around a bonfire on an old shipwreck, symbolizing hopes for a bountiful season. Suddenly, a conflict arises between Jonathan and Keith after a crew member tattles that Keith offered double the salary to poach him for the Wizard. This violates the captain's unwritten rules, leading to a heated argument and Jonathan severing ties with Keith unless his ship sinks. Phil, still thinking it over, decides to send his younger son Jake to work on the Northwestern to temper his impetuosity. Captain Sig happily agrees, also arranging to transfer Anderson to Phil. Despite being reluctant to leave his father, Jake obeys, while a confused Anderson follows orders. Thus, they switch ships and embark on a new season of challenges with the blessings of their peers. All crabbing boats head towards their fishing zones, with stranded shipwrecks along the shore reminding everyone to prioritize safety. Their goal is to catch approximately 7,300 tons of king crab. Who will emerge victorious, and who will return defeated? As they approach the crabbing areas, Captain Keith of the Wizard plans to strategically set traps every 2 kilometers at varying depths to locate crab clusters effectively. Captain Jonathan of the Time Bandit, confident from past success, marks his target area on the map, hoping to prove his skills beyond luck. The Northwestern arrives at the fishing grounds, and Captain Sig formally inducts new crew member Jake, emphasizing obedience as paramount. Jake, dressed for work, is ceremonially given the task usually determined by drawing lots to bite into a rotten fish head, a tradition praying for a good harvest, perhaps a reason they earn $100, $000 for 15 days of work. The season starts with high hopes, but also reminders of the perils at sea. A nearby fishing boat sinks, alerting all to the constant dangers. As rescue operations unfold, the crabbing community remains on high alert, working diligently and avoiding unnecessary risks. The season progresses, with some boats finding success while others wait for their chance. The Cornelia Marie, led by veteran Phil, currently leads with about 1 ton of king crabs. The competition continues, with each captain hoping for safety and success. How can one earn a salary of $100,000 by working only 15 days a year? Let's see how crew member Faraday does it. After an initial victory on the Cornelia Marie, they faced a setback with few king crabs in each trap. Faraday decided to seek blessings like his ancestors by slicing open a fresh fish and biting into its flesh, declaring it delicious like tuna. Captain Phil was almost sick watching him. Faraday then encouraged Anderson to try it too. Despite his disgust, Anderson bit into the raw fish, nearly making me sick just thinking about it. Faraday's actions seemed to turn their luck around, with significantly more crabs in the traps, meeting the size requirements. With more filled traps, the crew's spirits were lifted, knowing they could return home early if they met their crab quota quickly. They pulled up 50 traps continuously, totaling about 7 tons of king crabs. Faraday smeared his face with cod blood in gratitude for their bountiful catch, which continued until night. Captain Phil felt lucky this season, pushing his crew for another 6 hours to catch 14 more tons before a big storm hit, ensuring a safe return to St. Paul Island. After 50 hours, the Wizard had set most of its traps. Captain Keith, eager to see the results, was initially disappointed with only 7 crabs meeting the size requirements. However, the fortune changed with the next trap, which not only had a good catch but also stowaways, resulting in 42 legal-sized male crabs. Believing they had hit a crab hotspot, Keith ordered all remaining traps to be set immediately. New crew member Joel struggled to keep up on his 3rd day, losing all feeling in his left hand and forced to wear a wrist guard. Keith bluntly told him to cope or leave. Joel chose to endure for the sake of the paycheck. Captain Jonathan of the Time Bandit was determined to break the rule of 3 this year. Having locked down a seabed area known as Slime Beach, rich in shellfish, which attracts king crabs, they enjoyed consistent success here. Now, pulling up 97 traps set 8 hours earlier, they faced initial disappointment with low counts, but then found a giant scallop a good omen. The subsequent traps were full, reinvigorating the crew and proving Jonathan's skill over superstition. He marked the coordinates and ordered 30 more traps set immediately, hopeful for continued success. On the Kodiak, Captain Bill and his crew faced their first trap lifting with excitement, only to find mostly female and juvenile crabs, which had to be released due to regulations. Each subsequent trap confirmed the poor conditions. Frustrated with his son Zach's lackluster performance and repeated equipment failures, Bill knew the crew member responsible would likely be fired. After 30 hours of continuous work, the disparity between effort and reward was stark. Bill sought advice from his friend Jonathan and moved to a new fishing area, casting new hopes with the traps. As Captain Sig of the Northwestern ordered the season's first trap pulled, the dismal catch of only 3 crabs after soaking for over 48 hours indicated a defeat. Frustrated and smoking, Sig noticed his brother Edgar mishandling the crane, risking a blockage at the cargo hatch. Despite their dispute, the sudden influx of crabs diverted their attention, and they fought the storm with renewed vigor. Jonathan's tactic of following the scallops proved right, filling 30 traps with male crabs in less than 6 hours, showcasing the experience that money can't buy. His jubilant mood even led him to do push-ups in the cabin. As the crab count increased, so did the need for manpower. Jonathan joined his crew on deck, braving the storm. In such extreme conditions, their determination justified their substantial wages. Looking at the current leaderboard, the Wizard significantly leads, having stored 43 tons, followed by the Time Bandit with 32 tons after finding a crab hotspot. The Northwestern is 3rd with 27 tons, and the Cornelia Marie has fallen to 4th with 23 tons. Captain Bill's Kodiak is last with 21 tons. This is one of the world's most dangerous jobs, where you work just 15 days a year but can earn $100,000. A moment's inattention could mean death at sea. They are the Alaskan crab fishermen. This season, they faced the worst storm in the Bering Sea, with wind speeds reaching 35 knots, equivalent to 65 kilometers per h. Today, on Jake's 24th birthday, he earned a brief respite, not from working entirely, but from deck duties to cook breakfast for everyone. The boat rocked so violently that it was hard to stand, and kitchenware seemed to move on its own. The crew speculated Jake would break down. Captain Sig heard crashing sounds from the kitchen, predicting that kitchenware was being destroyed. Indeed, porcelain dishes were smashed, and a large bucket of egg liquid spilled. Jake felt an unprecedented level of frustration. The cold weather caused his runny nose to drip into the breakfast, but he didn't plan to start over. After much effort, breakfast was ready, and everyone enjoyed the meal mixed with Jake's snot, praising it highly, except for Jake himself, who just cackled weirdly. After the meal, his father and brother on the Cornelia Marie wished him a happy birthday over the radio, marking the end of his birthday. Most crab boats were swaying wildly due to the storm, making it impossible to stand on deck, temporarily halting their crabbing operations. Only the Northwestern stood strong against the storm and waves. Despite being tugged around by the wind, the crew couldn't slack off as they still had 155 crab pots to haul. If they couldn't deliver the king crabs on time, the price would drop significantly, and costs would increase. 24 kilometers east was Captain Bill's Kodiak, which had set 260 crab pots the previous night, following Captain Jonathan's advice. Now, they needed to haul them all, and the success of their season hinged on this. Everyone watched the sea intently as the first pot came up. bringing a truly bountiful catch of all male crabs, with the first pot worth $2,000. Bill instructed his crew to increase the bait in each pot and continue setting them in the same area to save time and avoid searching for more crab clusters. If lucky, they might close the 90,000-pound deficit within 4 days. Bill thanked Captain Jonathan over the radio. Without his guidance, the Kodiak would have faced significant losses. 230 kilometers northeast of Dutch Harbor, the Time Bandit was bracing for a tough battle. The weather forecast showed they would be in the center of the storm, with over 100 pots still to collect and widely scattered. They planned to leave in 20 hours, but the storm arrived earlier than anticipated. Despite the deck being constantly hit by huge waves, each pot they hauled was highly productive. So far this season, each pot on the Time Bandit had averaged over 60 legal king crabs, a rare achievement, thanks largely to Captain Jonathan's discovery of a shellfish-rich area. The crew, working over 40 hours continuously, didn't feel tired, facing only their fear of the stinging Bering Sea jellyfish, a cnidarian causing severe burning sensations on contact. As the weather worsened, the Kodiak rocked violently, making the crew sway. The temperature felt below -10 degrees Celsius, but the continuous bountiful catches warded off the cold. However, they soon faced a major problem. They were running out of the 5.5 tons of crab bait. If they couldn't resolve this, they wouldn't meet their 90,000-pound target within 4 days. Suddenly, Captain Bill and his crew were disheartened like frostbitten eggplants. In the previous episode, the Cornelia Marie had filled its quota and headed back to St. Paul Island to offload 23 tons of king crabs, earning $200,000. Now, they were fishing again in Thestrom, pulling pots at 12-hour Searlier. The first pot was disappointing with only 7 legal crabs, and the second wasn't, much better with only 12. Clearly, the unsea abundant area was now depleted, forcing them to find a new fishing ground. In contrast, the Wizard May season was exceptionally good, consistent producing high yields, with each pot worth at least $200,000. As long as there were stowaways coming ashore with the pots, there were plenty of king crabs below. Captain Keith, who heavily baited the pots, was now running low on bait. His brother Yaz planned to secretly reuse recycled bait, even if it was just fish skins. Previously, 3 fresh fish were used per pot. Now, they were using 2 carcasses. Unaware, Captain Keith expected continued high yields, but the side effects became apparent quickly. The newly hauled pot had very few king crabs, and the following pots had even fewer. Keith finally noticed the use of recycled bait and decided to confront the crew on deck. He asked Yaz if he knew about the bait recycling. Yaz was evasive and muttered behind Keith's back. Keith, known for his temper, chased after him and scolded him, although Yaz, being Keith's brother, chose to swallow his pride to maintain his brother's authority. As night fell and temperatures dropped sharply, mixing snowflakes with the storm, the Cornelia Marie pulled up its first pot at the new fishing ground. Captain Phil watched anxiously but was relieved as the catch increased. After sorting out the female and juvenile crabs, 41 legal male crabs remained a good start. While the subsequent pots weren't overflowing, they maintained a steady average, which might be just what the Cornelia Marie needed now. With extreme cold of -20 degrees Celsius expected at sea, Phil consulted with Sig about bringing his son Jake back from the Northwestern. Jake, having been toughened up by the Northwestern's rigorous training, now spoke fondly of his father and brother. Anderson, currently on the Cornelia Marie, was also set to return to the Northwestern. Though reluctant, they had to say goodbye. Let's look at the latest leaderboard, which remains unchanged from the last episode. 1. Wizard, 77 tons. 2. Time Bandit, 66 tons. 3. Northwestern, 61 tons. 4. Cornelia Marie, 54 tons. 5. Kodiak, 36 tons. Alaskan crab fishermen are surely among the world's most dangerous professions. On the Bering Sea in sub-zero temperatures, the Northwestern is battered by storm and huge waves. Captains Sig and Phil plan a risky exchange of crew members at sea. Their plan involves crew members jumping into the sea, grabbing onto the crab pot buoys, then being hoisted aboard like pots using the crane. This daring plan faces several issues. First, sea currents over 20 kilometers per h hinder the crew's control over their movements. Second, the boats heaving over 1 meter with each wave could easily sweep crew members under the vessel and into the propellers, potentially fatal. In a desperate move, Jake quickly dons a life jacket, is hoisted with a buoy, and plunged into the sea, where he is successfully lifted onto the Cornelia Marie after swallowing some seawater. However, Anderson isn't as fortunate. As the sea grows rougher, he dons Jake's life jacket and is similarly hoisted and dropped into the sea. But he disappears, seemingly sucked under the Cornelia Marie. After frantic searching by both captains and crews, he finally resurfaces, is quickly pulled to safety by a hook, and is hoisted aboard, coughing up a large amount of seawater. The crew exchange is completed, narrowly avoiding disaster. Nakoma, witnessing this, is overwhelmed. 4 months ago, while captain of a fishing boat in Bristol Bay, his crew member Jill mysteriously fell overboard. Although the tides were not as strong as today, she was sucked under and killed by the propellers. A painful memory that Nakoma lives with, burdened with guilt, though now willing to speak of it. On the Time Bandit, after working non-stop for 2 days, Captain Jonathan is on duty in the wheelhouse while the rest of the crew sleeps. Suddenly, an alarm sounds indicating water in the forward peak. They rush to check and find water nearing the cargo hold. With only one of their 3 pumps working, they must quickly find and solve the problem to avoid sinking. They retrieve an onion from the water, deducing that violent rocking caused a bag of onions to fall and block the drainage, shutting off the bilge pump. After removing all onions, the pump resumes normal function, and the water level starts to drop, saving the Time Bandit. Meanwhile, Captain Bill of the Kodiak, only 20 kilometers away, faces a grim situation with the delivery day imminent, and only 12 hours to return. Under immense pressure, his season has been poor, and his 5.5 tons of crab bait are exhausted. However, other crabbing boats generously share bait, offering a glimmer of hope for a last-minute turnaround. But miracles are rare, and as the first pod is pulled up empty, Bill curses, desperately needing luck which continues to elude them. By dawn, with insufficient catch, the Kodiak returns to Dutch Harbor, Alaska. The crew unloads, finding some solace in the sight of the large, luscious king crabs. After 4 hours, only half the cargo hold is emptied. Bill assumes the crabs are clean and expects no complaints from the buyer. Unexpectedly, a large number of dead crabs appear, shocking Bill and leaving him unable to calm down for a long time. The trip, exactly 15 days, saw the crabs begin dying around day 10, though the reason remains unclear. The dead crabs, worthless once deceased, lead to a loss of $50,000. After deducting fuel and crew wages, Bill faces a significant financial loss and must cut 1 crew member to save costs. Russell, previously fired from both the Time Bandit and Wizard, is let go again, marking his 3rd dismissal this year despite excellent performance on the Kodiak. Life is harsh. Even with hard work and excellence, outcomes can be bitterly disappointing. Let's look at the latest leaderboard. The Northwestern has taken the lead with 131 tons. The Wizard is now second with 122 tons, followed by the Time Bandit with 100 tons, the Cornelia Marie with 72 tons, and the Kodiak with 59 tons. How much can a fully loaded crab fishing boat earn, and how much do the crew members get to share? The Northwestern has returned to Dutch Harbor, delivering its final quota of 56 tons of red king crab. The crabs, eager to escape the cargo hold, are impressively large and tempting to eat. To avoid a situation like the Kodiak's, where many crabs died, the crew cooperates tirelessly with the dock workers to weigh the catch despite their exhaustion. Captain Sig faces a tough decision. Either distribute the earnings immediately and let the crew rest at home, or after delivering, go fishing for the more valuable blue king crab, which is only open for fishing once every 10 years and commands a higher price. After contemplating all night, he decides to delay paying the crew and instead take a chance on catching $200,000 worth of blue crab. The crew, feeling that money isn't everything, reluctantly follows the captain's orders as long as they are on the boat and sets off on a 2-day journey to St. Matthew Island, 765 kilometers away. As the Northwestern moves farther from Dutch Harbor, they lose radio signal and are now completely on their own, without any support. 2 days later, they arrive at the blue crab fishing grounds. Captain Sig, with no experience in blue crab fishing since his last attempt 27 years ago, leads the crew to set the pots. Everyone grumbles as they work through the dropping temperatures. The first pot lifted brings disappointing results. Only 1 legal-sized blue crab, with subsequent pots not faring much better. Facing a night of poor catches, Captain Sig is at a loss. Meanwhile, the Kodiak, having fired Russell, heads out to the Bering Sea again amidst a continuing storm that rocks the boat from side to side, dampening the crew's spirits. A close call occurs when a 160 kg M pulley nearly hits crew members Marvin and Chuck, but they narrowly avoid it. The night continues with low yields, leading to the crew slacking off. The deck boss, Adam, stirs discontent among the crew by badmouthing Captain Bill, who is already frustrated by financial losses. When Bill learns of this, he summons Adam to the wheelhouse for a reprimand. Despite Adam's attempts at justification, Bill cuts him off angrily, emphasizing that high wages come with high responsibilities. Bill ends the night feeling that entering the Alaskan crab fishing industry might have been a mistake. Similar issues occur on the Cornelia Marie, which has had an unremarkable season with inconsistent catches per pot. Jake, back on the Cornelia Marie, has lost his edge and continues to clash with his brother, affecting his work. Distracted, he misses a buoy, forcing Phil to turn the boat around. Despite Phil's stern talk, Jake continues to complain to his colleagues. After the last pot of the night is pulled up and the crew cleans their areas, Jake loiters aimlessly until Phil, unable to hold back any longer, calls him to the wheelhouse for a lecture. However, lectures often fail with rebellious individuals, and Jake ends up receiving a harsh scolding. 53 kilometers away, the Time Bandit is close to finishing its quota for red king crab. Though the crew is exhausted, they've been productive under Captain Jonathan's leadership and are excited about nearing the end of the season. But their good mood turns when the propeller gets entangled with a crab pot that unexpectedly surfaces, identified by its buoy as belonging to the estranged wizard. Captain Jonathan is amused rather than worried, but the crew is not pleased, knowing they might have to dive into sub-zero waters if the propeller can't cut the rope. Fortunately, after towing the pot for a distance, the rope breaks, but the $2,000 crab pot from the wizard is lost to the sea. After 8 hours of intense labor, Captain Jonathan announces that if the next 4 pots each contain more than 25 crabs, they will have successfully met their quota. Indeed, the crab gods are kind this season. The third pot alone contains 58 crabs, allowing them to finish early. To avoid an approaching storm, they plan to take a shortcut through Force Strida, notoriously dangerous 4-kilometer-long narrow channel in shallow waters known for causing ships to run aground due to storms and giant waves. Will the Time Bandit successfully navigate this perilous passage? Here's the latest leaderboard, unchanged from the previous episode. 1. Northwestern, 137 tons. 2. Wizard, 127 tons. 3. Time Bandit, 118 tons. 4. Cornelia Marie, 91 tons. 5. Kodiak, 8 tons. Why are blue king crabs more expensive than red king crabs? This video has the answer. St. Matthew Island, located 765 kilometers from Dutch Harbor, is one of the few places in the world where blue king crabs are abundant. There is no radio signal in this area, and the Northwestern must operate cautiously to avoid potential international conflicts. Captain Sig and his crew work tirelessly through the night, but not all efforts yield good returns. They hope to make a significant profit, as this fishery opens only once every 10 years. However, reality is harsh. They pull up over 80 crab pots, none with more than 10 crabs, averaging fewer than 5 per pot. Despite this, Sig does not lose heart. He knows his gamble has yet to pay off. The chilling weather and persistently low yields exhaust the crew both physically and mentally. Then, unexpectedly, a crab pot overturns on the deck, luckily with no one underneath. A 600 kg crab pot could have been fatal if it had landed directly on a crew member. Upon investigating, they find that the hook nails had iced over, preventing the crab pot from being securely fastened. This is a reminder of the constant dangers Alaskan crab fishermen face, with a high mortality rate that perhaps justifies their high salaries. Unsettled but undeterred, Captain Sig orders the work to continue. The catch of blue crabs remains in single digits per pot, consistently low. Meanwhile, the Time Bandit, having already met its quota, battles through huge waves on a shortcut back to Dutch Harbor. They sail non-stop, and dawn brings a broadcast warning of imminent severe weather, with winds up to 50 knots and waves reaching 26 feet, equivalent to about 100 kilometers per h and 9 meters high. Captain Jonathan, bewildered by the forecast, decides not to change course. They aim to cross the Force Strait, a nightmare for any captain with its uneven sandbars that can cause ships to run aground or capsize under stormy conditions. Upon hearing the broadcast, Captain Bill of the Kodiak worries for his old friend and considers advising Jonathan to alter his course. But knowing the Time Bandit's reputation, he realizes changing course is unlikely. However, Jonathan takes the situation seriously. After gathering all crew in the wheelhouse and getting their consensus, they face the giant waves head-on. The crew is tense, searching for two critical buoys that mark the safe passage through the narrow strait. They spot the first red buoy, but the second green one remains elusive, possibly obscured by high waves. As they approach the red buoy, they finally locate the green buoy and quickly adjust their course. Despite being chased by towering waves, Jonathan carefully steers and controls the speed, gauging the distance of the waves from feedback by his crew. They safely navigate the treacherous Force Strait, though a wave hits the stern as they exit, causing no significant damage. The crew applauds, relieved, likening it to a thrilling surfing lesson. They soon return to Dutch Harbor, having caught 118 tons of king crabs worth $1.1 million, with Rex crew member $1.1 million, with each crew member earning $1.1 million, with rich crew member earning $32,000. The Wizard, having already met its king crab quota, sends its new captain, Monty, to continue fishing, targeting 68 tons of elusive spider crabs, nicknamed ghost crabs for their tricky nature. Despite the crew's lack of enthusiasm for another outing in stormy conditions, they are amazed by the full pots of large male crabs they haul. The first pot alone contains 280 legal-sized spider crabs, and subsequent pots all exceed 200, averaging about 245 per pot. The new captain, lucky beyond belief, orders the crew to reset the pots right there without specific coordinates. All work diligently except for Joel, the lazy new member who, despite having 7 hungry children at home, seems unappreciative of this well-paying job. Disliked by his shipmates, Joel is informed by the captain that he will be fired after this trip. Back on the Cornelia Marie, the season has been tough, with just 9 tons left to meet their king crab quota. Bad weather persists, and a sudden blackout strikes the ship. The chief engineer, Ward, turns on emergency lights to diagnose the issue, finding the main generator, which powers all hydraulic equipment including the cargo hold pumps, has failed. They must fix it within an hour, or risk losing all crabs on board, potentially costing $1 million. After discovering a closed fuel valve with no apparent cause, they manage to temporarily wedge it open, resolving the issue for now. The crew quickly resumes work, and with the final pot pulled, they end the season and head back to Dutch Harbor overnight. They deliver 109 tons of king crabs, earning $1.1 million, with each crew member receiving $1.1 million, with each crew member receiving $1.1 million, with their ex-crew member receiving $27,000. Meanwhile, the Wizard also returns fully loaded from catching spider crabs. Including their earlier king crab catch, they've harvested a total of 182 tons worth $1.9 million this season, with each crew member earning $1.9 million this season, with each crew member earning $1.9 million this season, with each crew member earning $31,000. After a brief month's rest, they plan to tackle snow crabs, except for Joel, who loses his job due to poor performance. Far from Dutch Harbor, the Northwestern struggles with sudden extreme cold that covers the deck in thick ice. The crew, having worked over 20 hours, faces discouragingly low catches of blue crabs. Captain Sig, considering his crew's morale, decides to end their ordeal. They return to Dutch Harbor, delivering about 11 tons of blue king crabs worth just $60,000, barely breaking even, including their yearly 137 reals tons of fretting crabs, Captain Sigyrn's 60,000, barely breaking even, including their earlier 137 tons of red king crabs, Captain Sig earns 60,000, barely breaking even, including their yearly 137 reals tons of fretting crabs, Captain Sigyrn's 1.3 million, with each crew member pocketing $50,000. The unluckiest remains the Kodiak, failing again in the Bering Sea. With dismal catches in every pot and reaching their delivery deadline, Captain Bill announces an early return to Dutch Harbor to deliver their catch before heading out again to complete their quota.